Alright, guys, good morning. It's day 2. It's Friday Eve. Um, alright. Next couple pages of this book, Aina's Keys to Personal Freedom by Aina Brion. Reading through page 5. So, again, not reading a lot every day, just a little bit. There's already a lot to unpack every couple pages, it seems. She talks some about, how people have parts of themselves that they show to the public, and things that they're ashamed of, they don't really show to everybody. So kind of like, in general, the world gets one impression, but then internally we might have other stuff to be dealing with or working through. And she was talking about some other stuff too, about gifts, and being passionate about music, and also loving the self, and kind of this idea that, no one else is gonna do certain things for us. It's kind of up to us to do that. And, something I found relatable was how she was talking about, trying to speed up the growth process, trying to make things go more quickly, when sometimes it's like, you gotta just stick it out and be patient with the process of how things are naturally going, especially when you're putting in the work, you're putting in the effort. Sometimes it doesn't feel like things are getting better fast enough, or sometimes it doesn't feel like there are improvements, or sometimes it doesn't feel like it feels slow, but it takes a while to build things up. It's kind of almost just like, it takes a while for things to tear down as well, for most people, say if they look at different areas that are usually, areas of concern, like, finances, people's finances can get way out of whack. But usually, unless somebody's having like a really impulsive symptom or some kind of situation where they're just like really not thinking clearly, or have some gambling problem or something, like, usually people aren't going to get into financial trouble overnight. And like, what, like, you'd have to go on like quite a few $1,000s worth of shopping spree on Amazon Prime or something. Like, usually you have options, you can return stuff, like, unless you're doing something like buying cars or some like excessive expensive thing that you really can't afford. um that kind of thing is like, okay, like, you probably can't really, sustain that level of spending, but even with spending, usually most people, I think it's like, okay, it gets a little out of hand, like, let me use one credit card, and then use it a little, and then use it a little more, and then use it a little bit more until it's like maxed out. And then it's like, well, I can't really pay it all off at once. And so then getting into a cycle of like, okay, well, I have this second credit card, so I'll just start using that one while I pay this one off. So then it's like, okay, your paycheck that comes to you isn't fully coming to you because you're paying off one card, maybe making a little more than minimum payments, whatever that looks like, and now paying even a little bit on a second card. And then if that one eventually gets maxed out, or using like payday loans or whatever it may be, and then, okay, they're taking out like a few $100s a couple times a month now for this loan, and then however much from the first credit card and however much for the second. Like, it usually goes like that, like, it's over time. that it's like negative choices, bad, or maybe like not so uh, thought out choices, just a little impulsivity here and there that adds up. And you can have things like, okay, now my finances are a little out of whack and I'm barely making the bills paid, you know. And then it's like that can lead to, okay, let me cancel my gym membership or let me stop working out. You know, like a lot of stuff kind of comes hand in hand. Like it's like, okay, I'll eat less healthy because it's cheaper. And then it's like now your energy's dipping and you can't find energy to like work out, and now your health is getting worse. And like that kind of stuff, it can be a cycle like that where it's like little bit of things over time that if they don't get like kind of nipped early, it can get out of control to the point where it's like, okay, well now I've gained all this weight and I got to get back in shape, and you know, I'm not eating healthy and I got to start eating better, and then my money's kind of weird and I got to get my money in the right place, and then it might be a strain on relationships, maybe canceling a bunch of plans or not being able to really see people or go out with them or do anything because, you know, the money's not there. And it might just be like a strain on a lot of different areas. Like, I mean, the reason why I'm saying it like that is because I feel like a lot of times for most people, it takes a while to kind of get into a situation that's not ideal. And then when we want to get out of it, it's like we expect it to be like, okay, I want to feel better immediately tomorrow. You know, what happened? I went to the gym, I ate salads today. Like, you know, I slept good, I went to work and did everything on time. And like, why is the money not there? Why do I not feel better? Like, it's kind of like, you know, why didn't I lose weight yet? You know, it's like, okay, like it took time to get to this place. It's going to take time to get back out of it, you know. Um, there's a lot of analogies, but it's kind of like, you know, almost anything, you know, if you climb down a hole, it's going to take you a while to climb back up, right? Like, it's not just going to be like you climb up one rung and you're already there, you know? Like, it might be harder to climb out of a hole than to climb down to one inside of one. So, just things like that, where it's kind of like, in reality, just with nature, you know, just with how things naturally unfold, it doesn't make too much logical sense for there to be like perfect change overnight, but it's hard to kind of keep up the momentum of like digging yourself out, you know, of something that sometimes, you know, it's like it's our own fault, other times it's not our own fault. Sometimes it's just a lot of stuff going unmanaged for a long time, hopefully to the benefit of some other goal. Even if that goal is just having fun and just living, feeling like you live free, and then, you know, dealing with the consequences later, you know. And then, you know, kind of the part where she talks about, you know, that, you know, people, um, she kind of mentioned something that's kind of interesting that, like, you know, people don't always, you know, not only do they not always show like every angle of themselves, but sometimes they come into contact with parts of themselves that they maybe didn't know existed. That could be a good or a bad thing, but she was talking about the concept of like out of character, like in quotes, like if something's like, you know, if I did something out of character, it's like it's not that it's out of character, just maybe you never, you know, that part of you is never exposed before or it never came up before, um, and that things can be lying dormant and, you know, just all of a sudden they just reveal themselves, you know, like, you know, people say that a lot, you know, you've seen people say like, oh, that was out of character for me, like I never curse people out, or I never do that kind of thing, or like, you know, I never get like overly drunk, or I never, you know, I never do this or that, you know, and it's like, well, you had it in you, like it came from somewhere, you know, and so, you know, a lot of times it's like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't something, you know, that I knew I could potentially do, and you know, now I do. And it could be like negative stuff or positive stuff, really. Like, I think usually the negative stuff is going to seem more impacting, you know, if somebody does something that they really never saw themselves doing, and they're like, oh, like I didn't think I was gonna do something that bad or negative or just something against like my own values. Um, but you know, at the end of the day, like a lot of us are capable of doing a lot of things. Sometimes they might be good things. Sometimes they might not be very good things. Um, Sometimes it's somewhere in between, and it's really not like a judgment. You can't really judge it. Um, but yeah, like it's kind of I think it's kind of normal to be, you know, like hmm, it's kind of normal to be trying to, always do things well, um, wanting to feel well, wanting to perform well, wanting the energy to be there to actually do good. Um, I don't know that many people who wake up and they're just like, I just want to fuck up everything today, like, um, I mean, they might do that, they might fuck up everything today, but it's like most people, when they wake up, they're like, they're happy if they feel good and energetic, and they're happy if they're like not groggy, and they're happy if they're motivated and don't feel like they want to go back to bed. And most people kind of, I think, you know value kind of just basic energy and things. And I think it's, I'm kind of ranting a little, but it's kind of, uh, I think a lot of times, I guess what I'm noticing is that people don't realize how ragged they run themselves because we're able to push. And so, one thing I'm realizing, which is weird, is the amount of quiet and silence and stillness that's kind of necessary to feel like you're recovering, like kind of knowing what that looks like. Because I feel like most of us, we're on our phones, we're working, we're driving, we're shopping, we're entertaining ourselves, watching stuff. But, it's easy to go through a whole day from like the second I wake up, checking my phone, checking out Instagram, looking at whatever online, watching YouTube videos, even if I'm listening in the background and cooking some food and stuff. And next thing the busy part of your day is over, and you're unwinding and you're watching something or listening to something or doing something, and you never sat still like the whole day. You never had any time where you sat still, and then you try to go to sleep and you're like, I can't unwind. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be possible to easily unwind if you've been on the go all day. That's what your body and mind's going to be used to. It's like, dude, why are we not on the go? Why are we stopping? And I think that's the easiest thing to overlook, is just not taking breaks, not taking um, like multiple hours in the day to kind of recharge. Like it might not be possible to take like consecutive hours. And I think that's what the normal work week kind of has against it. Like, there's some part of me that thinks it's not healthy to be like working at 9 to 5 with 30-minute lunch and two 10-minute breaks. Is like that, unless you're really doing something you're passionate about, and it's not like a high stress type of situation. That is like barely maintaining yourself. For like 8 hours, you get like 50 minutes worth of break, and and it's your whole day. It's like consecutive hours for like the majority of like your wakeful time, every single day. Like, that's too much. And capitalism, and it's just kind of what our society does. But you know I kind of think things through like that, and I'm like, this isn't healthy. It's not healthy. Like, I think we just ignore it because it's like, well, I want to have a stable job. But like, I know for myself, even when I started working 32-hour weeks, I definitely noticed a change. Um, that was kind of more my own natural pace. Maybe even less. I probably could have worked like 28 hours a week, honestly, maybe even less than that. Um, but I feel like it's a little bit excessive, like the amount of work that's expected to be put in, in of your youthful, energetic years just spent just grinding away for like dust, like here we'll give you a little bit of chump change over here, um, and time is something you can't really get back, um, and so it's one of those things where it's like part of me gets it. Like, I know it's part of the common grind. Like, most of us, we're not able to not do it. But also, I'm like, I don't agree with it. Like, I don't think it's a healthy lifestyle um, for most people. Um, Especially because most people don't get paid that well, anyways. Like, the majority of the population isn't really making bank like that. So it's like, um, or even quickly moving up to a space where they can make bank. So, and so much of our energy is spent not having time to sit and think things through. It's like, how do you even strategize and like plan like a method and develop, kind of a method that's going to work to get you out of something, to get you out of a space? It's like you literally have to like force it. And I don't know. I think, you know, jobs need to look at that. I think they're starting to look at that more. They're starting to pay a little better, some of them. They're starting to look at the calendars and do like a four days on, 3 days off kind of thing or whatever. They're trying different things because they're noticing people aren't returning to jobs. People aren't coming back, and it's not that people don't need the money. It's just that, like, why would somebody go back to something that wasn't working in the first place? You know, once they've had so much time off after the Rona and all that, they're like, well, what's the incentive for me to go back to this job? Like, they already weren't treating me well, and now they want to give me more work because everybody else is quitting. It's like, at the end of the day, people are like, I'm just gonna get mine, and like, people start saying like, screw these corporations, I'm gonna go and do what works for me, and the corporations can't compete with the human willpower, you know, for success and independence and lifestyle balance. I think most people want that, and they're not getting it from these companies. But these companies are like begging people to come over, and it's like, yeah, you got to make it pretty sweet for me, like, I think especially once somebody's done work, had a lot of experience, kind of paid their dues, you want to see some return on that investment. You want to see some loyalty from some company, from some recognition. you know you want to see something, like, even if you think about before, colonial days and all that kind of stuff, when people were kind of like indigenous to the land and people were just kind of living off of the land. There was still like like, everyone had their roles in societies. People would go from like a lower level of like either like age range, like working their way up to become like some kind of position in the community or in the tribe or whatever. Like, usually you would start from youth. Either you would get like appointed, or somebody, you'd be born into it, or something. Like, you'd have a path that you were following. So it's not uncommon that like that's just kind of how humans do things. They're like, let me build my skills from a very young age into doing something, where, I'm now, you know, uh, someone to be consulted about this, or a professional at this, or, you know, I'm the one who knows, I'm the knowledgeable one in this area, in my community, or in this tribe, and I'm just gonna try to make it work. Um, for the benefit of everyone and for the benefit of yourself. But it's like, you have that position, you have that status, you have that role, and you know, usually that's kind of how things worked even before, all the colonizers decided to come and try to break down all the cultures and all this other kind of stuff and be greedy and take resources and kill people and all that. It's kind of like we're right back where we started, but it's just a little more maybe technologically advanced version with more control and like kind of some a lot of systemic issues and all this other stuff. It's kind of more in depth, where it's like the people who really are trying to control in the world kind of made it so that other people can't really easily thrive. And they're just like, well, we're in charge of saying who gets past this filter and who doesn't. And they're trying to keep certain groups down and trying to make certain people unable to have access to, equal resources and things. Um, and, at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. People are still striving for the same thing. They want to know, if I'm going to school for this long and wasting all this money, am I going to get enough money to actually pay back all this debt? Am I going to actually be able to get a job where I can sustain myself, or am I going to have to be popping around jobs every like 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, just to make things better for myself? Because I do know people who do that, who don't keep the same job and move jobs just where the grass looks greener. And financially, I think that's a good move. It seems like for a lot of people who move jobs, like, you know, they find financial, they find a way to meet their financial goals um, easier than people who stick to the same job. Because usually it's harder to get a raise, a, a, an increased pay rate, like faster than you could just get another job that pays better. Like, because most jobs, the salaries or the pay rates kind of increase per year anyways. Um, so it's very rare that, if you have experience in a field, if you move jobs, that you're going to be always looking for something and making less than you were making before. Like, usually you're a commodity to other sites. They'll see what you've done and they'll be like, well, yeah, we need you over here. Whereas your current job is going to keep you at the same rate. So a lot of times that can be one way to just get ahead. I don't know, for me, it's a little stressful. I like doing the same thing. Like, I'm one of those people that gets stuck in a rut. And even if it's not, if it's not ideal for me, I'll find the things that I like and I'll find the things that are ideal. I lived with all these wackadoo people because it was like, well, I'm paying way less rent than anybody else I know. And it had its benefits. I was able to party my ass off for like 7 years. It's like I was able to do what I wanted when I felt like it. I was able to save a lot of money, invest a lot of money, do a lot of things that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do if all my money was going to rent. So yeah, like, while I regret, some parts of it, there's a lot of benefit that I definitely got out of it. Um, just living cheap, to some extent. Um, it's kind of like a skill I have, but almost to a fault. It's like, well, to some extent, it doesn't really help, if I'm being driven up the wall every day, but, or even every other day or whatever, but, like, that's just how it goes. Um, but that's my rant for this morning. I had a little C4 before breakfast around like 7:50 a.m. or something, just to get a little kick, and I definitely got that kick. Um, I didn't have any CBD last night or the night before for sleeping. Just wanted to see how it was. I did have some trouble falling asleep the last couple nights because of it, but today I woke up a little later, like around 7:20 or so, which is fine. Um, and around 7:40, 7:50, I was like, let me start getting up. Um, I had breakfast a little late, but I was already starting to cook before 8 a.m. And then just had some noodles with some eggs and some veggies. Um, and I should have hydrated way more. I hardly hydrated at all today. But I'm about to try to get to the gym before 10. It's 9:30ish right now. So and the other day when I went, I got there like probably closer to 10:20 or something by the time I was like in the gym, and that wasn't good. Like I feel like I have to get there before 10. Otherwise it's just so crowded. Well, it's not that crowded, but it's like I wanted to go in the sauna and like everybody was in the sauna. The sauna gets packed. Um, but I did settle for the steam room, and the steam room was nice too. Like, but I don't know if that's how I got the weird little headache kind of bug thing. But I'm about to go do it again, anyways. I feel like those rooms aren't like that clean. Like it's kind of gross when you think of it. It's just like part of it. I'm like, it was kind of nasty, but I think they clean it every day, so I think it makes more sense to try to go earlier before so many people have been in it. But yeah, those rooms get kind of funky sometimes. It's like, but it's kind of a little motivating for me to go once my breakfast kind of settles. I don't know what I'm gonna do at the gym. Maybe like something boring, elliptical kind of stuff. Like I don't know. But I gotta do something before this whole caffeine kick kind of wears off. Uh, I do need to be more hydrated than what I am right now though. I'm not hydrated enough. But I'll bring a couple water bottles or refill my water when I'm there, I guess. And yeah, I think that's all I'm doing today. I'm still trying to figure out my stupid Wi-Fi. Um, it turns out the Google Fi SIM card, um, if I don't have eSIM on my phone, I can't technically change the plan back because I have AT&T. Like this phone I record on, I have AT&T. So I want to keep my number. I want to keep all my like I'm on my family's plan. I don't want to change this. Um, but I don't want to have to get another second stupid phone. Um, just to activate this thing, but I might end up doing that if I can find like a super cheap phone. Because I want the data sim, the data only sim. And I like this plan because it's month to month. I don't want to get locked into some weird ass plan that doesn't make any sense to me. And you get a year free of YouTube Premium. And so it's kind of a discount in all honesty. Like you're like I already pay for YouTube Premium, so if I'm able to link it, you know, um, I don't know. And I don't trust these phone stores. Like I don't know. I'm trying to learn uh, how to do it, but I might have to go into one of the stores and be like, just do this for me. Um, but the problem is you have to activate that. You have to activate the Google Fi SIM card on a phone plan through a phone, and it has to be like a newer phone. I tried it in iPhone 4 and it doesn't work because it's such an old phone. And they told me it was iPhone. I don't remember what version or higher, like the higher version of what I have, but I have X or 10 or whatever. It worked fine on this one, but I don't want to like change my number or like activate it and then not be able to just put back in my regular AT&T SIM card. The only reason I want to activate that phone plan is so I could get the data only SIM card, but you can't get the data only SIM card if you don't activate it through the phone plan first. And so I'm kind of annoyed. But I might talk to tech support again because I guess technically I'm paying for it. So maybe I can get away with not having to actually use the phone part. But I don't think it's fully activated. I haven't done the finishing steps yet. There's like 2 more steps I have to do. And once it started saying about like changing your number and stuff, I was like, I don't want to change my freaking number because I don't want to permanently like make my phone a different number and a different service and a different everything. I just want the data only SIM card so I can use it in the hotspot. That's all I want. So I don't really know what. I don't really know. I'm still kind of like slowly figuring it out. So after the gym, I'm gonna do that for part of the day. And it looks like the sun keeps peeking out, so might get in the beach day, guys. I don't know. It's freaking cold though for the beach, but sometimes I honestly don't care. It's just like whatever. Like it's only cold. It's only cold water. It's only cold water. It's not gonna kill me. But sometimes it's worth it, honestly. And if not the beach, I've been trying to kind of like sit outside a lot because at least if I'm sitting outside, I'm kind of like in the sun. I think it really helps. It helps my mood and helps my energy. But I need to get out of here and go do what I'm trying to do for my day. I feel like I've been in here in the house for a really long time this morning, and but yeah, I'm usually not leaving this early. I got ready earlier, so I'm ready to pretty much go. I just need to grab all my stuff, my watch, earbuds, all that kind of stuff, wallet, water bottles, all my kind of stuff like that, and then get rolling on up out of here. I don't know what I'm gonna do though for today's workout. I don't know. I'm just gonna wing it. All else fails, I'll just do cardio on the bike or on the elliptical and just listen to podcasts and stuff. I don't know. Oh, I postponed my snowboarding. I couldn't get a rental car locally, and I didn't want to go all the way to the airport. And Hertz canceled my freaking my reservation, so I think I'm going up Sunday to Tuesday. But Tuesday there's gonna be this storm, but I'm gonna see because maybe the storm might not happen as planned. I'm kind of gonna try to bank on that, but if not, at least I'll get in sometime Sunday afternoon and probably like Monday morning on the mountain. Yeah, that seems like what I'm about to do on that end. I really don't have a whole lot of energy, even though I had some C4. I really am actually kind of exhausted. But I know I didn't do anything yesterday, so I shouldn't be tired. But yeah, so I'm gonna get out of here. That's it for this morning.